here, and I'm so thrilled to I get to see George very often because he's busy and I'm busy, so here we are. And the reason that we're here is the reason that you're here, is to do the very best we can to ensure that in this by-election in Toronto-Danforth, we actually do something that makes a difference. And Adriana put it really well. Anybody else who gets elected, I had the theoretical notion, I'm going to spend a lot of time in and around Parliament Hill without being a member of Parliament. And my sense was, and when Sharon Lapchuk, who was my campaign manager in London North Centre, and is now Adriana's campaign manager, we had an experience of saying to people in that by-election, no other vote's going to make a difference. As Adriana was saying, the House of Commons isn't going to change. A by-election doesn't elect the government is in place. Any by-election gives you a really different opportunity to make a really substantial statement, to do something that makes a difference. And I used to say that in London North Centre, that no other MP was going to be able to make a difference. Now that I'm in the House of Commons, I tell you, it's worse than I thought, actually. Every single day when there's going to be a vote, you know, I don't know how many of you have ever gone to Ottawa to see the House of Commons and to see how things work, but there are these lovely young people. You've seen them at least once when Bridget the Caterpillar well, they're in those lovely black uniforms and they're very efficient, and you know, they don't usually do demonstrations, but what they do is every single day on every single vote, they hand out the sheet that's given to them by the party whips. So they're very careful. They don't put anything on the wrong desk, goodness knows, because the Conservatives get the sheet that says, today we're voting no, 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 yes, no. This is very efficient. It means no one's required to think. As a matter of fact, it's easier if you don't, because then you don't have to, well, you certainly don't read the bills, because you're going to be voting no, 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 yes, no. The NDP benches get the sheets handed out by the NDP whip that tells the NDP how they're going to vote. Yes, 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 no, yes. And then the Liberals get handed out their sheets. And even the poor benighted remaining 4 Quebecois members get the sheet of paper in case the word didn't get around. We're voting no, 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 no. And it blows my mind that every single day, on every single vote, it's a whipped vote. I can tell you in June, when I stood up to be the only member of Parliament to vote against bombing Libya, NDP members of Parliament came up to me afterwards in the opposition lobby and said, bravo, Madame May, bravo. There were tears in their eyes because there were peace activists who were told to vote for bombing Libya. Right? This is not about picking who should be Prime Minister. I think we can all agree that any one of the other 307 MPs in the House of Commons would make a better choice. With the possible exception of Dick Taves, I'd say any other one would be, actually Dick Taves would be better because he's much more transparent in his finality, and it would be, whereas Stephen Harper has perfected the look of Father Knows Best, the patient and wise and hold his facial expression perfectly, wise patriarch of doom. Anyway, I'm torn between politics and stand-up comedy. Generally a toss-up. So I'm in there every single day watching this go on. And I don't want to be unkind, but I've made friends in every single one of the other caucuses. And I mean every. The individual members of Parliament are far better than any of you could imagine, because as individuals, they are complex, there's things they care about, there's times that the bravest thing, some brave Conservative MPs actually yesterday on a private member's bill of Kirsty Duncan's for CCSVI for multiple sclerosis patients, actually stood up and voted with the, against what Health Canada wanted, against what the government wanted, and voted that we should make this more available, do more with the test. But even on a bill like that, you knew they're going to get in trouble. I talked to one Conservative MP who felt he couldn't vote against what the government wanted, what Harvard wanted him to do. He was a Conservative, he felt the most he could do, because he actually wanted to vote for the CCSVI bill. But he felt that the one thing he could do would be to be in the room but not vote. Just sit there, so that as the vote goes by, he didn't stand. That's, in the context of how much party discipline there is, that was brave. And of course, he told me later he got in trouble the next day. That's how it goes. So when you think about where you're going to cast your vote, what's going to make a difference? Okay, at this point, we've still got the kind of numbers where I can say with confidence that you have the potential to double the Green Party caucus. Doubling a caucus, no other party is in that zone. Not at all. The only downside of electing Adriana Mugnatto-Hamu to serve with me in the House of Commons is that it does nothing to affect the gender parity within my caucus. It allows us to remain 100% female, but twice as many MPs. Guess what I could do with twice as many MPs? If Adriana had been in the House of Commons with me when we put forward 43 separate amendments at report stage on the Omnibus Crime Bill, we had more amendments from the Green Party on the Omnibus Crime Bill than all the other parties combined. That's because, it's strange, but as an individual MP, I have more rights at report stage to put forward amendments than the other parties. It's unusual, but we put forward those amendments, but I needed to get someone in another party to second my amendments. This is an awkward position, because when I then said, okay, so we've got to keep Harper in the room and keep them voting till 2 in the morning, the enthusiasm of the seconders began to wane. And there were other things going on that evening, and there was a lot of pressure on me. Gordon O'Connor, by the way, the Conservative whip, came over the day before and said, Elizabeth, how many of your amendments are you going to make us actually have a full recorded vote? And I said, gee, I don't know, Gordon, because I don't know which is the best one, which one has the best chance to pass. I try to say things like that to him with an expression on my face that suggests a hopeful naivete that could begin to leave, that such a thing could ever happen, because we know he looked at me and said, Elizabeth, every single one of your amendments is going to fail. And I looked at him and said, are you sure? Maybe one, maybe, because they're really good amendments, Gordon, they're really good. And he said, I can tell you right now, I can promise you, every single one of your amendments is going to fail. I said, gee, I hate to think that. I'd really like to see them all voted on. And he said, Elizabeth, have a heart. My caucus has a lot of people with weak bladders. I mean, okay, this is my dilemma. Are we going to become a country that has mandatory minimum sentences, builds a lot of unnecessary jails, throws people in jail for 6 pot plants, or am I going to force Conservative members of Parliament to have strained bladders? It's the kind of thing that, fortunately, on the horns of such a dilemma, what could I do? Unfortunately for me, my seconders wouldn't let me go till 2 in the morning, forcing them all to vote forever, which was, you know, kind of as a last stand against draconian legislation that every civil liberties organization, every criminology expert, every group that possibly could bring to bear their views on whether this would work or whether it would be bad for society, the John Howard Society, the Elizabeth Fry Society, Civil Liberties Association, the Canadian Bar Association, every expert group that gave testimony said, don't let this bill pass. And if Adriana had been there with me, we could have put up a much better last stand against draconian, regressive, bad legislation. So, please. I'm going to turn it over to you for questions. I just want you to be sure that when you leave this hall tonight, you reach out to as many friends and neighbors as you can. And when they say they don't want to waste their vote, which is what I'm hearing our canvassers are getting at the door, for heaven's sake, say, oh good, that means you're voting Green because you've decided not to waste your vote. I'm so pleased to hear it. So the only vote in this election that's going to make a difference is a vote for the Green Party of Canada and a vote for Adriana Mugnatto-Hamu. Thank you very much.